Good evening, everybody. I'm Maureen Edwards with 8 Simple Steps, and you are tuning in right now to LinkedIn Live, the series about why do you want to be an entrepreneur, the trials, triumphs, and the wisdom. On the journey that you are on, I have some rock star entrepreneurs who are on that same journey and have some amazing perspectives, insights, tips, tools, resources for you to go ahead and take your business to the next level. So tonight is no different. In fact, I'm so honored to have this guest take time out of her schedule. We have Judy Hoberman of Judy Hoberman Associates. She is renowned for coaching executive women in leadership. And she's written 4 books. She's an award-winning author and a TEDx speaker. So when we're talking about rock stars, I'm bringing you real rock stars who know what's going on in entrepreneurship. So Judy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Maureen. I am thrilled to be here, and I just love learning from what you're doing as well. So it works both ways here.
I'm having a great time with this, Judy, because it allows me to not only elevate the authority of the entrepreneurs. Some of them are just starting on here. Some of them are in like mid-growth. Some of them like yourself who, have been established for a long time, and people can learn from each other. And, I say 2,739 businesses went out just today, went out yesterday, and tomorrow the same number will go out. So I want to be able to provide as much education information out there from people who are killing it, and you're killing it. So why don't you tell a few people about how you even became an entrepreneur?
Well, I think that it was something that was presented to me by the universe. I think that's what it was. I can't describe it any other way because at the time I decided to become an entrepreneur, I was corporate. And before that, I had decades in financial services and insurance. And even though we weren't employees, we were independent contractors, but it was kind of like being corporate for, those many years. And then I was officially corporate. And it just wasn't the right place for me. I knew it wasn't. And I stayed as long as I could. And I decided, what do I want to be when I grow up? Which is the question that we all ask ourselves. And when I asked myself, I thought, if I was starting all over, I would have wanted somebody that would have been able to give me the roadmap that I was on, because I was a single mom and I was the only female and I was always in male dominated industries. And I would need somebody or I would have wanted somebody that could tell me, turn left over here. Here's the speed bump that's coming. Why don't you try it this way? Use this playbook. And it wasn't available. And because it wasn't available, I thought, okay, if I was starting all over, that's what I wanted, but it's not available. So I'm going to become that woman for other women. And that's really how it all began, because I thought that if I could provide the tools and the strategies for other women to get them to succeed instead of struggling through and crying and things like that, that's what I wanted to do. And my mission has always been to help one woman a day. And that's how it all started. So even though it was a conscious decision, it also was more like, I'm asking what should I do? And I was told what to do.
Well, it was also kind of an aha moment, I think, because you identified a gap from personal experience. And you're thinking, I can't be alone in this. And so there was a need out there. And you said, you know what, I'm taking the risk because this is something that I feel compelled to do. And you did it. And so I guess my big question, though, is how different was corporate compared to going out on your own and now becoming basically a small business owner?
It's very different, and yet it is somewhat similar, because a lot of people treat being an entrepreneur the same way that they treat their position in corporate. You have this schedule that you're going to keep. This is what you think about. You have a schedule you're going to keep. And when you have to do marketing, you go over here. And when you have to do accounting, you go over here. When you're in corporate, you have people over here, and you do work, 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever it is. Then reality hits. And you realize that it's much more than you anticipated. It isn't 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or whatever it is. It's always. You have to figure out how to do this. You have no boundaries, and you have to create boundaries. You are the accounting department. You are the sales and marketing. You are the chief revenue officer. You're all of these things. And until you figure all of that out and you decide, okay, this is your business, you don't have a business. You really don't. It's kind of like a hobby to begin with. And I think that that's where a lot of us get tripped up. Some people that I know that became entrepreneurs did it because so and so did it and it looked easy, or so and so said I could bake, or so and so said this, and so you just do this. You really have to have the foundations first, and most of us miss that step. And I know that you talk about that all the time because it's so important. If you don't have the foundation, how is everything going to stand straight up? It doesn't. And so it's almost like trial by fire. You have to figure this out, and you're like, ooh, I wish I would have known that. So when you go back now and you say, what would you have done? Well, I probably would have had the foundation first. But when you don't have that opportunity to have that time to get those things in place, you just jump in, and you build the airplane on the way down, as opposed to just figuring it all out. There's so many more tools today than there was back then. And you have people like you, like me, like other people that can show you some of the things that you shouldn't miss and some of the things you need to focus on. So it's different, it's the same, and there's stress either side. That's all I can tell you. There's stress either side.
So how long did it take for you to pull all the pieces together and get your first client or contract, or how did it start where you're like, oh my gosh, I really do have a business here because people want me. I'm getting asked to lead these people and provide the knowledge that I have and fulfill the purpose I have. So when did you get your first client?
Well, I got my first client. It was very interesting because what I was doing right up front was I was going out and I was networking everywhere, because I had come from a corporate position, and the only people I knew, because I come to a new area, were the people I just resigned from. So that's not exactly where you network. You have to be really careful, but I wasn't intentional at all. So I networked everywhere. And, all of a sudden everybody knew who I was, but none of them were my people. They loved me, but they weren't my people. So I had to, again, sit myself down, and I said, what am I doing wrong? And I figured out that I was looking for people everywhere, as opposed to looking for specific places where my people would be. And once I did that, I remember this woman came up to me. I was talking to someone. She came up to me. She said, I don't know what you're doing, and I don't know what you do, but you're so excited that I would love for you to come and talk to my group. And I thought, well, that's good. And so she said to me, are you going to be speaking any place local so I can listen to you? And I was going to see a friend in Tennessee. And I said, well, I'm going to be in Tennessee this weekend. And she said, oh, honey, that's not close. I'm like, okay. So then she said, do you have a website? And I said, well, we're in the process of updating it. I didn't know what else to say. So because I had a business card, that's all I had. So then she said to me, do you have a brochure? And I thought, okay, I can't have strike three. So I said,
this isn't going well, right?
So I said to her, would you like an electronic one, or would you like me to mail you one? She goes, I'd love for you to mail me one. So now I knew at least I had a day or so to do this. So I go running home, and I call my son, and I call the person that was helping me with, my graphics and my social media and all of this. And I start to cry. And I said, this woman wants me to speak, and I don't have a website, and the college kids have no shoes. I'm going through this whole thing, and my son is going, Mom, 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 Mom. And so I stopped, and I said, what? He said, someone asked you to speak. Think about that. We'll get the brochure together. Don't worry about that. But someone asked you to speak. And I went, oh my God, somebody did ask me to speak. And so I sent out the brochure, and sure enough, she hired me. So that was my very first client. And I couldn't tell her until years later, like how that all happened, because I just felt so ridiculous. Here I am, I have a business card and a lot of moxie is all I can say.
And you know what? You need a lot of that. You need the scrappy in entrepreneurship, and you were out there selling your passion, selling the energy, selling the excitement, and it was contagious. And sometimes, we say to people, you don't have to have every single piece in place for it to fall into place. Right.
And that's true. Yep.
There you go. And you're like, okay, I'm going to run home. And you did send her the brochure, so you were able to follow up. But she was interested in you she wasn't really interested in the brochure. I
No,
mean,
she wasn't. But
yeah,
it gave me a little bit of wiggle room so I could give her something. And
exactly.
and then, of course, then I realized I didn't really need a whole website. I could just have one page. And so all of those things started to fall into place. And we immediately put up a landing page because
Yes.
we needed something. And and then the rest came after that. But what you have to have something. Like people will say, well, what happens if they want to buy something from me? Well, you have to have something. I mean, you have to know, okay, I'm offering this and this is what it costs. And then you have to have a way to pay, have somebody pay for you. And so it's all of those things that, like I said, if you had it first, at least you'd feel comfortable. I was very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. But, I got out of that pretty quick because you don't have a choice.
You didn't start with the foundation, but you were able to you were able to pivot. That's the whole idea. You were flexible, you could pivot. This is, like I said, it's passion, it's believing in what you're going to do, and it's saying, I am not going to fail at this. Okay, this is it.
That's your theme song.
I'm not going to. Okay, don't make me sing. I'm not great at that. That's not one of my many talents. I'm being totally honest with you. So, what is probably I would say, the greatest accomplishment that you have had so far in your career? Because you've had a lot of them, but I'm sure one specific one stands out. And a lot of people will say, well, it was my very first client, and that'll always be special. And they maybe hold the check up and they take pictures, and if that's the case, great. But is there something else that stands out?
I think the greatest achievement for me was my TED Talk, because at that point in my career, I was still struggling with some of the things from my past. And as well as I do, Maureen, that, we all go through either imposter syndrome, or we have limiting beliefs, or we have our inner critic, or any of these many wonderful things that we allow to have. And so at that point, there's a part of me that growing up, I wasn't taken seriously. Everybody thought I had everything put together, all this kind of stuff. People prejudged me all the time. But there was a part of the story that I had never told out loud. And I decided to tell it on my TED Talk. I mean, imagine that. It was like so crazy. And what happened was I was practicing how I was going to approach this, and I couldn't get through the first 5 minutes at all. I just couldn't. And so I started rearranging my talk and where I was going to put that story and all this kind of stuff. And then I decided to use it wasn't going to be me, it was about somebody else. And I was good until a friend of mine who does neuro-linguistic programming, she said to me, you got to calm down about this, because I had already posted to everybody, I apologize for being snarky, but I'm doing my TED Talk this week, so please don't talk to me or anything. So she said, you can't go like that. So she asked me a couple of questions. What she asked me was, when you put on a TED Talk, when you watch it on a computer, what's the first thing you hear? And you always hear applause. That's the first thing that you hear. She said, what color calms you down? So I said, purple. She said, what are you so nervous about? And I said, I'm nervous because there's a theme that you have to tie everything together, and I'm afraid I'm going to miss that piece of it. And she said, are you wearing anything that's important to you? And I said, yeah, my wedding ring. She said, okay, so what I want you to do before you get on that stage is I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to listen for the applause. I want you to think about purple because it's going to calm you down. And I want you to know that you're not going to miss anything. You're not going to forget anything, and then turn your ring. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is so hokey. I'm just looking at it. But I thought, just in case it works, I'm going to do it. And so I'm the second of the 10 speakers. And so I get up there, and the first one was really good. I get up there and I do the whole thing, and I breathe and I turn and I listen and whatever, and I get on stage. Now you can't see a thing. You cannot see a thing. The way it's set up is you have to stand in this red circle because they have to video you. That's part of the rules. And there's lights, so you can't see anything. And I had told the colonel, don't sit in the front, because if you sit there and I see you, I'll never get through this. It wouldn't matter. I couldn't see him. Anyway, so I get up there and I start telling my story and whatever. And the first 5 minutes I'm good. And I thought, oh God, I got past this and this story's coming up. And then all of a sudden I feel it. I just feel it coming up. And so all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just turned my ring again and it went back down. It was like the most bizarre thing. At that moment, I didn't know that the colonel took a picture of me. At that moment, he didn't know it because he couldn't really see and I couldn't really see. And that's when I knew that I had left that story back there. So it was a whole big thing for me. And then at the end, I mean, it was wonderful. And everybody that watches it and everybody that was there says to me, it's like the best thing you've ever done. So when people say to me now, you're going to do another TED Talk, I'm like, no, done, checked it off. It was fantastic. Not doing it another one.
Why wouldn't you do another one? You have such an amazing message.
It's not anything. I can tell my message in speaking. I can tell my message. To me, it was like a lot of stress, really a lot of stress, because I was so nervous about this story that I don't think I could ever do better. You know, I just think I've done it. I don't want to do another one. I'm happy to share my stories, but.
Right. You know, I can understand that. It's like nothing will ever beat that. So it's like a TV show. Don't come out with a sequel. The other one was really, really good. And when you ended it.
That's right. You ended on the right note. It's good.
Exactly.
Now just go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that your color is purple.
Yeah.
That is your branding.
Yeah.
And can you share something that I think is unique just to Judy here? Your boots.
Yeah.
Come on. You knew I was going to ask you about.
Let me just say that I do not wear shoes in my house. So I do not have my boots on now. I just don't. But the boots are, do you want me to tell the story about the boots?
Yeah, because I think this all goes to mindset.
It totally goes to mindset.
This is about mindset, and entrepreneurs need to understand how critical mindset is. It's like it's entrepreneurial mindset, which is completely different.
Yes.
And I think people have to understand that can either make you or break you. So
the mindset is everything. And if you don't have the right mindset, it doesn't mean you have to be Pollyanna, but if you don't have the right mindset, nothing is going to fall into place. Nothing. So for me, when I would go out to speak somewhere, first, let me say I'm an introvert. So when I walk into a room,
you believe it? All right, the audience is going to be like,
no, not so much. Yeah.
So.
But when I walk into a room, if I don't know anybody, I don't even know how to approach somebody. It's very foreign to me. So when I would go out to speak, no one would come up to me and talk to me. I mean, they didn't talk to me till after I came off stage. And then it's like, oh, I love you so much. I want you to come here. Can you do this for me? Blah, 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 which is wonderful. But I wasn't sure what it was. So after it happened like 3 or 4 times, I did a random survey and I walked up to different people. And I would say, I just have a question for you. When you see me, can you describe me in 3 words? And every single person in different order would say, you're unapproachable, you're intimidating, and you're out of our league. That's what they say to me. So what do you do as a professional female? You walk into your car and you start to cry, because that is not who I am at all. But the truth of the matter is perception is reality. Yeah. And when you are an introvert and you do not open yourself up or greet people or whatever, it's almost like you're so aloof that you don't care. But it's not that. It's just that you can't get out of your own way. So I talked to my coach and she said to me, you're an introvert. You have to think of a way to feel comfortable about talking to people. Okay. So the next time I go out, I'm wearing one of my pairs of blingy boots. And this woman comes up to me and she said, oh my God, I love your boots. And I actually had to stop and I had to think, did I already speak? Because someone's talking to me. That's how crazy it was. And so we had this conversation. And then somebody else and somebody else. The next time I went out to speak, I wore my boots. And the same thing happened. So the third time I was going out, I said, now I feel like an athlete who's on a winning streak, who doesn't change their underwear. I'm not changing my boots. And so it happened again. So that's when I realized that was what I needed, was the icebreaker. And so my boots becomes the icebreaker. Wherever I go, I always wear boots and people always stop me. Either they want to buy the boots off my feet or they want to know where I got them or are they comfortable or whatever it is, because they're always like blingy boots. And so that became part of my brand because it just made it easier for me to be nicer and kinder and open and everything else you could think of. So now when I ask people to give me 3 words, they go, you're so funny, you're so open, and you're just amazing. Like that's a big difference. So my mindset is that I'm awesome and that I have a message to share, as opposed to you're intimidating, you're unapproachable, and you're out of our league. Where's your mindset there? Your mindset is way down. So yeah, it's really important to figure out a way to be open and friendly and everything else, because that is going to attract more people than detract. And that's what you want to do in business, is you want to have people that want to be around you, as opposed to going, I don't.
What I love about this, Judy, is that you actually took the risk and went up and asked people in a survey. And most people would never do that. I think maybe because they're afraid of the answer, right?
Yep.
And not know where to put it. Just like you didn't like how
No.
out. You didn't like the results, but it's what you do with the results. I
Right.
think that's what's super important. You didn't just go and it's like you cried, you got your cry out and go, how do I fix this? Because this is going to impact my business if I don't.
Right.
And so I think that a lot of people, even though it may be tough to hear, is to send out surveys. And that's about your company. It's about your product. It's about your brand. Listen to your customers and what do they say about you behind closed doors?
Right. And that's the truth. Yeah. And that is the truth. I do surveys now all the time because I like to hear what people have to say, and I get their opinion. And so when I'm launching something or thinking about launching or something, I always do that. I always do surveys, because this survey taught me a lot about hearing in their own words what they're saying. Because if I would have sent them a survey about this, they would have said, oh, you're so nice, or you're this, or I love your jacket, or whatever nonsense it was. But that's not what I needed to hear. I needed to hear somebody say to me, like, you're stuck up, is basically what they were telling me. And I'm not there. I have nothing to be stuck up about. But if you know me, and then I started deflecting it. I would say, well, you didn't take enough time to know me, in my head. I wouldn't say it out loud, but if you would have taken time to know me, but that was the truth. I thought, they didn't take enough time to know me, who I really am. But why would they want to? That's the thing. Why would they want to if I was being so standoffish? So it was a good lesson for me. And now I just try to find the positive in everything and everybody. And again, not Pollyanna, but I can adjust things for people when they say, well, I'm just trying to do this. No, you're not. You're not trying. You're doing. Look how much you've done already. And so, it's a very different way now, because I know what it's like when nobody wants to be around you. It's very sad. Very sad.
And you know what? It's amazing that you're even admitting this. And I think it's all about honesty, which is why, I'm having you here today for a lot of reasons, but here's the truth, everybody. Here's the honesty, and you have to have confidence. You have to eliminate any imposter syndrome. You've got to believe in yourself. And you've got to say that, you know what, I'm going to do this, even if it maybe hurts.
Yeah.
Some of the responses. So you got to love your company, and you got to love the people you want to serve more than the hate that you may get from the answers, the hurts and, being disgruntled and making those excuses. So,
well, if you go and if you watch my TED Talk, you'll understand why this was even harder for me to do than anything. And I don't want to give it away, but seriously, it's because of what had been said to me for decades and decades ago. This was really hard for me. So I had to start, like, before I get on stage, I had to talk to myself and go, okay, you have a message to share. This is going to be awesome. They're here to hear you, blah, 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 blah. And you have to rewind those tapes. And that's something that you have to learn how to do until it goes away. And it doesn't ever go away 100%, but until you're able to just pick yourself up and go forward.
So how many years now have you had your business?
I started my company in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was in the height of the recession.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Right.
But it didn't faze me, because I had no idea we were in a recession or what it would do to a business. I just kept forging along and just saying, this is going to be good. I'm going to do this.
And I remember a story, because not only did you hit a recession, but then everybody hit COVID, and it was for a big COVID pivot. And entrepreneurs out here, let's just call it what it is. Everybody got hit with COVID on some level.
Yeah.
5 million new businesses were created, though, out of the pandemic, because out of crises does come creativity and opportunity. Right. But if you didn't pivot, you were probably not in business today, or not really in the position of strength. So can you share how COVID impacted you?
Yeah, you're hearing all the good stuff today, boy.
If you don't mind, because I think this is important, how
No,
you were
is.
able to change and evolve.
Yeah. So in 2020, in January, February, my calendar was just about filled with, all the speaking and the training, and it was awesome. I was so excited. It was going to be a lot of traveling, but I knew that it was going to be amazing, just amazing. March 13th, 2020, when I walked in, I remember seeing all these messages from people canceling, cancel, and phone calls and texts and apologizing to me that we have to cancel. And all I kept thinking was, what just happened? I understood that we're in a pandemic, but I didn't understand actually what that really meant. And so within, a few hours, my calendar was 100% blank. Like there wasn't one thing left. And so I always have these big girl panties that I can't put on right away. So I gave myself permission to grieve, because I knew I was losing my company. Just like that. I just knew it. So I went to bed for 20 minutes. I did. I cried my eyes out for 20 minutes. And then I got up and say, okay, what can I do to change this? Because I don't want to lose my company. And the only thing that I was doing virtually was, executive coaching, because it was always virtual. But I didn't have, thousands of clients. Coaching is one-on-one, and that's what I had. But so, again, that's not going to keep your company afloat.
No.
So the very first thing I did was I decided to listen to some of my clients, and what they were saying was, we feel so disconnected. We don't feel like there's, any of us are going to survive. So I put together this panel of exceptional women. I had 4 women from financial services, all in different levels. One was a CEO and one was a wealth manager and all of that. And I threw it out to social media. And I said, we're going to talk about change. We weren't going to talk about woe is me. We weren't going to talk about, giving yourself permission to cry. We weren't talking about that. We were talking about how you're going to change things and how it changed it was going to happen, because on that Friday, not only were you told to stay home, but so was your partner, your spouse, your kids, everybody.
Everybody.
So, right? So we put this panel out, and it was amazing. And again, it was all about the flip side, like how do we accept this change? So it was great. And I thought, okay, so people are starting to feel connected. That's wonderful. And that was it. We had the panel. It was done, until everybody said, well, when's the next one? Who's on the panel? Can I be on your panel? So 12 weeks later, we did it. So 12 weeks, we had panels every single week. And it was all, change. It was all about pivoting. It was all about shifting. And my word for 2020 was shifting. So all of a sudden it became very relevant. So we did the panel, and then we did a reunion, and we had so many people that felt so connected, and they kept saying to me, you make us feel like, nothing has changed, like we're all together in this. Now, here's the hard part as an entrepreneur. I didn't charge anything for it. And the reason I didn't charge is because it was more of a labor of love. My coach was crazy.
I'm crazy right now.
Right?
I didn't know that part.
No,
okay, entrepreneurs out there, don't do this.
Don't do this. But the thing was, it was only supposed to be a week. So there wasn't a plan in place or anything. And my coach was like, how could you do that? You can't do that. Anyway, out of the pandemic became these roundtables that I created. I did them inside companies and outside companies. And it was really like a safe place for women to congregate, to be able to talk about their challenges and their celebrations and everything else. That is still going on. Roundtables are still going on. I did all of these things. I did a book series with an organization. They all bought copies of my book, and we decided to have a book group. Okay, it was amazing. So all of these things were about connecting and staying connected. And those things became part of my stable of, in my stable of offers. And so rather than not have speaking engagements, rather than not having any kind of training, I started doing them virtually. I became a certified virtual presenter. One of the companies that I work with, they put out a certification program. So I did that. I took all of these things and moved them forward, because that's what I needed to do. I created an online program. I did all of the things that I thought would bring me to the same level that I was. Did it that year? No, it didn't, because it was, it was really hard to replace.
Exactly.
But I still did the things that I needed to do, and they're still in my catalog of offers, and they're still the most popular things. They weren't even on my radar at all. And now I have new things that I'm creating and new things that I'm offering. So as bad as the pandemic was, and it was bad for many, many people, there were some highlights for me, because I learned how quickly you have to change, how quickly you shift. And if you can do that, there are people out there that will support you and that you can support.
So before everybody gets to hear about some of the amazing things that are going on, as a woman entrepreneur, do you think entrepreneurship is harder for women? Because that's really your background. You are renowned with working with women in leadership positions and really trying to raise them up and empower them. And there are some entrepreneurs in there that you're working with. And is business just different for them owning their own company?
It is different. It's very different. Women and men have, they do everything differently. Let's just make a profound statement. Men and women are different. Okay. That's the truth. We all know that. They ask questions differently. They answer differently. They listen differently. They do everything differently. They shop differently. They sell differently. The truth is, though, statistics will show that the majority of the work that goes on at home and the care that goes on at home are done by women. Now, there are a lot of men out there that is their responsibility, and I don't take that away from them. But the statistics show it's more women. More women left their positions during the pandemic, because now you had your kids at home, and how are you going to be able to do this and work and so on and so forth. So women took the biggest hit. But it was also shown during the pandemic that we need more women leaders, because women started to show what we call the soft skills. They were more empathetic. They were more nurturing. They were more caring during the pandemic. It wasn't all about business, business, business. It was about, how are you? What do you need? So that was a little bit different. But men and women are different anyway. Women entrepreneurs are different than men entrepreneurs. Women can't find the capital that they need as easy as men find the capital that they need. So there's all different things. I always say that if you can work together and create the assets instead of the liabilities, it's going to work. If you're a male banker, why wouldn't you at least listen or read the proposal of the draft that somebody has about their business? Why wouldn't you at least read it and just say, instead of saying, no, can't do, I don't have any money, but then the man comes in and you do. So I think it's the responsibility of both the men and the women to understand that we are different, but we need each other. And you can't expect to do this all by yourself. It takes a village, and the village is, not just one gender.
I totally agree with you. So tell everybody about your slogan that you give. Like, what do women really want out there?
Yeah, women want to be treated equally, not identically. And that's the truth, 100%. And it's short and sweet.
Brilliant.
And it's powerful. Yeah. Thank you.
Brilliant. So tell everybody what you have going on. I know you've got a few special events that I'm sure people would want to take advantage of. So what's happening?
So we have a new program, and it is called the E Factor. And somebody that I love very much, who is opposite me right now, helped us come up with that. So the E Factor is about elevating, expanding, and empowering your mindset. And we have a special training coming up on May 11th. You'll start to see everything unfold on social media, if not tonight, but then by tomorrow, because we're just working out all the rest of the kinks. You know what happens with technology. We also have a summit coming up that's about connecting with confidence, and that's on May 19th. And so, again, you'll start to see that coming out. We have some amazing women in leadership and executive positions that are going to be the speakers. And so that's going to be fabulous. And then we have another program coming out that I don't want to just tip my hand on that yet, because there's some special things on that. But yeah, so the E Factor is coming out first, and then the summit, and then just keep watching. So that's what we got. We're so excited, because the E Factor is really about those E's that you need desperately. And in order for you to change your mindset, that's part of it. You need to be able to elevate and expand and empower. And sometimes the empowering part is the most important, because it's not just empowering others, it's also empowering yourself.
And it's for women across the board, entrepreneurs, executives,
Yeah. We all need it. We all need it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Great.
yeah, it's
Great.
going to be awesome.
So how do people get a hold of you, Judy, if they want either tickets for this or they just want to reach out for speaking engagements and all the wonderful things you offer? Tell us how to get a hold of you.
So right now we're on LinkedIn Live.
Of
So
course.
LinkedIn would be like a really good place for you to find me. I'm under Judy Hoberman, and just reach out, send me a message. You can also find me on my website, which is Selling in a Skirt, which most people remember that name even more than Judy Hoberman. So you can do that. You can email me at Judy@SellingInASkirt. I answer my own emails. Nobody else answers them for me. So I'm all over social media, either Judy Hoberman or Selling in a Skirt.
Awesome. Awesome. And that's sellingintheskirt.com.
.com. Yes.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for tonight. I know we went over a little bit, but I totally think this was worth it. And for all the entrepreneurs out there, I really encourage you to seek out Judy Hoberman, because I think everybody can benefit from the wisdom she has, the insights, the perspective, and just the expertise and experience. It's clear across the board, and she is one rock star entrepreneur. So thank you so much for coming. If you need any additional information about 8 Simple Steps, go to 8simplesteps.net. And if you're interested in being a rock star entrepreneur guest, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just give me a quick DM. And you can also DM me right here on Facebook, because we are live on Facebook right now.
That's right.
So let me know, and we'll see if we can connect. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and I will talk with you soon. See you next week. Another Rockstar entrepreneur will be joining us on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.